Going on, Scott? How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. Am I supposed to know what this is?
I'm pretty sure you don't know it because, A, you don't listen to a lot of hard rock. But I'm going to tell you what this is from. It's actually from a guy who I met on my trip to Dallas. I'm back.
Oh, the Dallas trip, yes.
I survived it. And this song, the name of this song is Zombie from the band Lovesick Drug. But before we get to it, just, dude, tell me, I miss this like hard rock stuff. Like when I heard this, when I was tuning into it, I was like, I want to check out this band. And again, I'll tell you why. I was like, I miss this like old, just fucking sleazy hard rock. I know it's not your style of music, but man, it feels good to hear it once in a while.
Sleazy.
This is not my style of music. I haven't listened to it in a long time, but like when you were playing it, I was like, this has feeling like I should know what it is, but it takes me back to like late 90s, early 2000s before music became shit.
Exactly. Before it became shit. It's weird you say that. I think music right now is in one of the coolest spots it's ever been in, but you have to go looking for it because everybody's got the ability now to record at home. The stuff that I'm working on at home, I can't believe the quality of it. I mean, I watched a tape. Oh my God, am I dating myself? A YouTube video, which is digital. There is no tape. But I watched a video on Billie Eilish, right? She's making gazillions of dollars, making her own recordings at home with her brother, using stuff that all of us have access to. It's insane.
That's wild, man. It makes it accessible to anybody.
Duh.
And being out in Dallas, now that I'm going to segue back to Dallas because I am the segue master. I mean, that town is one of my all-time favorite towns. And being a Philly guy, I'm not supposed to like Dallas. So for just a couple days. Yeah,
just the football team.
The city's amazing. The city, here's the city. City's flat. Okay, all of Texas is flat. So the city is flat, spaced out really well, and never crowded, at least everywhere we went. We stayed in Deep Ellum, which is kind of like the artsy area, at least the artsiest area I know of Dallas. And I love it. Everything there is cool, different, and I feel safe everywhere in that city.
I've been to Dallas. It's a cool scene.
Yeah, it's not, everybody says Austin is better. Haven't been to Austin yet. Have you been to Austin?
I have not, but it's a bucket list.
Let's go, you and me. We'll go on a road trip together. We'll make it an adventure, a PG-13 road trip.
PG-13?
Yeah, because, our wives won't let us make it R-rated.
I'm just going to go and gorge myself on barbecue.
I had some of the best barbecue. I went to that place I told you, Pecan Lodge. Everybody said to me way back in the day, this is the best place in the world to get barbecue. And I believed it, so therefore it will always be the best place to get barbecue. I will tell everybody that just because I was told that. So I tried to tell you that, and you gave me the bird. You were like, no. You wouldn't accept it. I don't think, do people know, like, you're into barbecuing? That's, like, your thing.
Yeah, no, I'm big into it. Dallas, to me, is a big steakhouse town. Like, I had the best steak of my life at the Stockyards in Dallas, actually Fort Worth. And I know it's a touristy thing, but it was an incredible steak. They have, like, the cows right out back, and you ain't getting a fresher steak than that. But as far as barbecue and, like, the art of slow smoking and seasoning just right, Austin's the place for new school barbecue right now.
There's a steak place in Reading where you go in and pick the steak you want. Like, it just lays there and you're like, I'll take that one. Your place, you go out and pick the fucking cow.
You pick the cow you want it from. That's right. Now, I was giving you some suggestions for places in Dallas based on the top 50 list. Southern Living's top 50 comes out every year. Very prestigious thing in the barbecue world. And number one's actually a place in Lexington, Texas called Snow's. It was actually featured on Netflix has a series out called like The Master's Table, and they did a whole special on Snow's barbecue, and they're like incredible. But in Austin area or around Austin area, you have Goldie's Barbecue, which was number one last year. You have Leroy and Lewis, who was like on the front cutting edge of Texas barbecue, new school barbecue. They actually do barbecue classes where people come in from Chicago and even out in LA, people come from all over the world to take in some of their barbecue skills and know-how and just different cuts of meat, different spices, different seasonings, and not just being such like an old school, because barbecue's history was take shitty cuts of meat that are getting thrown away and are cheap to buy because it was really like an economic decision and cooking it in a way to make it tender and make it edible. It wasn't like a high-class cuisine, but now there's people that are like trained in French cuisine and going to fucking culinary school and getting into the barbecue world and mixing these worlds together. So like, good barbecue is going to cost you $20-25 a pound for fucking brisket. So like, it's no longer a poor man's food.
Order up.
Why don't Texans like vegetables? It's because they only know about barbecue. Amy was going crazy. She's like, I can't find a fucking salad anywhere.
Yeah, closest thing you're getting to vegetables or fruits at a barbecue place is coleslaw and spiced apples.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I ever saw on her plate.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big... I mean, first of all, you can't go to a barbecue place and expect to be finding the best of vegetables. I will say, though, I do have some good vegetable recipes that I've made here at home on the grill or just over top of the coals. So there is some good stuff out there. Leroy and Lewis does some incredible vegetarian options, but most places you're going to a meat town. You don't go to a meat town looking for a vegetarian dish,
Yeah.
So aside from not being able to find vegetables, what was the rest of your trip looking like? Good time?
It was a great time. Listen to my voice. I'm slower, right? I'm already got that southern drawl. I'm kind of like a little bit more relaxed. A little bit more
one thing,
chilled.
You're certainly bitching a lot less. You seem to have forgotten all about that fucking sack race from the company picnic.
Yeah. Well, I had to come home as fast as I could on Sunday to edit to get that out 6 a.m.
That's right.
You do our pre-edit and then I do the post-edit, and it's kind of like a two-man process. We're very efficient. So you did a great job. Thank God, because I was able to fly through it. But I was dreading it the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, because we were flying into a storm. I'm like, oh no. That's how much I care about this podcast, everybody. I was terrified that I was going to let you down, that this thing wasn't going to launch at 6 a.m. And by the way, this is a perfect time to go right into our bumpers. If you want to get in touch with us, go to toomuchcgi.com. Send us an email. Tell us what you'd like to hear. Laugh at us. Fucking do whatever you want. Just go there and do something.
No dick pics, please.
And if you're not even looking to go there, you're like, you know what? I'm not really a website type of guy. You can go to Twitter. Or X. You know what? I'm not used to calling it X. It's Twitter. I think everybody I know is still calling it Twitter. Sorry, Elon. You can go to Twitter. You can follow us at toomuchcgi. I like to post some things there, and you can get involved there. And lastly, I'd love to ask, if you feel like helping out the show, one of the things that you can do is give us a review. You can actually just go to ratethispodcast.com/toomuchcgi, and it can sniff out what platforms you use. It's magic. It's internet magic. And it couldn't make it any easier for you. So ratethispodcast.com/toomuchcgi would just take a minute of your time. It would really help us out. It tells the algorithms that they should be recommending us to other people. You want to hear about my trip?
I want to hear about Dr. Gift. I want to hear about this premiere. I never talked to anybody that went to a movie premiere before, Bill.
Well, hey, man, look, this is my first time on a red carpet.
So there was a red carpet.
Kinda.
Okay.
It was like a sliver of one, but you know what? There was still a red carpet, so I'll take any chance I can to get in front of cameras, even though the cameras were Amy's cameras. But hey.
It was like a selfie spot, like you got to take a selfie in front of like a red carpet.
100% right, yeah.
It counts.
Oh, it was really cool. It was called the Angelica Theater. It was like this cool, like bar kind of hybrid. There was an Irish bar next door. It was just a cool hang area. It was there were lofts there. It was kind of like a nice area of Dallas, and it was just a great area. And we went in. We saw a whole bunch of other people were kind of there before us. I feel like they were probably friends of the directors, or maybe they were friends of the cast, or maybe they were also people who contributed. All right, so here's something I kind of pieced together watching the movie this time. And remember, I'd seen it. I'd seen pieces of it, and the new edit I hadn't seen. So there were new characters in it. There were new things. There were new effects. There were new scenes. It was a new thing for me. So we got to kind of watch something that I hadn't seen before. So that was kind of a surprise. But man, there's just like something about when you watch something, and I'm going to be honest, I hear people say it all the time. I'm like, I don't buy it. Watching something at home with a good speaker, it's, apples to apples watching in a movie theater where you're being bothered by some kid chewing popcorn. I don't know. Watching this thing that I had already seen on a small screen on the big screen in a big theater was like, okay, now this takes on a brand new life. And I don't know why I've never really gotten that feeling before from watching something from the big screen to the little screen. but it was it made it a lot more fun.
Yeah, I think that's especially true for a horror movie because you get this, like, other people being afraid makes the fear seem more real. Like, it's not you just getting in your own head or freaking yourself out or buying into the story too much. Seeing other people's emotional reactions really adds to that experience.
Yeah, everybody was having fun. It was a lot gorier than I remember. I think they took some time to really add a lot. It was a slasher flick. Slasher flicks are usually like, Freddy versus Jason. You don't really see a ton of gore, but there was a little bit more gore in it than I remembered. So it's a trauma type movie. It's silly. It has comical moments. Things are kind of tied together loosely. It's meant to go in and be that way. It's not meant to be The Exorcist.
Right.
And one of the things I picked up that I hadn't put together before is some of the people because there's a lot of people in it. I have a feeling that they're people that helped through that Indiegogo program, which was, what they used to fund this thing. So it's probably like, hey, you put in so much money, we could bring you into the movie. So it even made it more of a community feel.
This reminds me of the story you did the other week with James Cameron, where the producer wanted to put some of the other producers and the other financial backers into Terminator 2. To the point where James Cameron lost his fucking mind and cut the whole thing. So you could have been that guy to ruin a film.
Luckily, I wasn't in it. Like, my picture was in it. Yeah. Well, nope. These directors said, nope, we're showing everything. Why not? We shot it. Let's use it.
So I guess my question is, where does this go from now? So there was the premiere. This was obviously self-published through Indiegogo and financial backers. Like, do they try and find a production house to distribute it or distribution house to get this out to the masses? Or is this just like out for the taking now? Is this something that goes to streaming someplace? Where do the rest of us find Dr. Gift from here?
It's a very good question. I don't really know the answer. So I wrote to Abel, who is one of the two directors, and I asked him that. I said, so, I saw your other stuff streams on Amazon. I assume this is going to Amazon. He said that this is like the thing they put the most energy into so far. They're like, it's kind of like any filmmaking group. They take their friends, they keep on making more things and make it bigger and bigger. And, it's how Kevin Smith started, so sure. I really admire what they're doing. Now that I got a better sense of what the community is, it's very cool. Very cool. It's almost like, remember when I had my local band and I was, hey, come see my local band. We want to get big one day. This is not that they're at that level. They're going to be able to get their shit out wherever through Amazon or however, but it's still that feel of building up a project, building up a brand, building up a style, building up an art form. And then, you got a whole group of people with you. Hopefully you all can get big together. That was the vibe that I got from it.
I mean, Kevin Smith's friends were like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, so that had a little bit of an impact on it.
But not at first.
I guess. You're a good point.
Back then it was Benny Affleck and Matt Damon. Yeah, not back then. Yeah. Everybody's got to start somewhere. So I was really, really happy to be part of it. And there were two people in this movie that I had known before. Okay. One was Danielle Harris. I mentioned her last time.
Yes. Yeah.
I assumed she wouldn't be able to make it because of the SAG stuff, and she wasn't there. So another is Billy Blair. And I saw the name in there and I was excited because I was like, Billy Blair's in this movie. And then I watched the movie and I went, oh, I guess he never made it into the movie. He was right in the movie. He was right there in one of the best scenes. I'd even said to Abel, I said, the scene of you two in the basement being funny together, you and that other guy, I had no idea it was him. So Billy Blair, if you're not familiar, Billy Blair is like one of them guys that you'll see in a lot of these action movies. My understanding is he's friends with Robert Rodriguez. He's been in like Sin City. He's been in the Machete movies. He's been in Rob Zombie movies. Like, he pops up because he's got a really cool look. And I really should have recognized him. And it was totally him when I realized that, put two and two together, when I met him outside of the showing. My friend Paul, he showed up with me, my friend Paul Salfin from Dallas. And he's like, Bill, have you met Billy? And I'm just like, did not make the connection. I felt like such an ass. And I looked like such an idiot in front of him.
Does he look different, or you just didn't put two and two together?
I don't know what was wrong with me. It's like sometimes when you look at something shot at an angle at the dark, when he's wearing his hair a little bit longer, because in Machete, he's got one of the best parts. He's the guy in Machete who kills Robert De Niro. How many people could say in their career, I got to kill Robert De Niro?
You talking to me?
Do you remember? Yeah. He was one of the southern rednecks. I'm going to go after, and they accidentally killed Robert De Niro, and it's a whole moment. Yeah. So he was in that. He makes a lot of those like fun movies now, just those kind of I think he was telling me he just got done doing something called Bull Shark. He's like, we just got done doing Bull Shark 2. I'm like, that's right up my alley. I'm going to go see what Bull Shark 1 is, and then I'm going to check out Bull Shark 2.
I never heard of Bull Shark 1, but hey, they got 2 of them.
So 2 things here. First off, before I even got to speak to him, my wife, who's next to me, runs right up to him. I love your eyes. Easy, Amy. Love my eyes a little bit, okay? But back up. She fell in love with him right away. And second, I saw he was promoting something, a band, and that was the music that we played up front. So LSD was the name of the band.
Song.
Yes. Yeah. So now we're coming full circle.
Oh, all right.
That's the Dr. Gift story. I'll let you guys know where it ends up because I don't know. Let me tell you one other interesting thing that happened. Just to tell you the magic of hanging out in Dallas with this guy, Paul Salfin, who knows everybody.
He's like the man about Dallas.
He's a socialite. He's a legitimate socialite. Like everybody knows him. That's not a knock. People are socialites, and he somehow has figured out how to be one and get to know everybody and just everything that's cool. You look, and there's Paul. So he was at the Dr. Gift thing, and there you go. Enough said.
I have a feeling Paul's nobody's +1. So is he going to this thing regardless, or was he your +1?
Man, Paul walked right in. So I have a feeling he just has a key to the city. So let me tell you what he does. He goes, hey, man, I know you're a photographer. Yeah. Have you ever heard of this guy, Tyler Shields? All right, Tyler Shields is my all-time favorite living photographer. I've pored over this guy's work for years and years and years. As far as I know, he's an LA guy. You know, he knows a lot of the people out there. He takes pictures with them.
Like a magazine photographer, or like what's he doing?
I'm sure he's been commissioned to do a little bit of everything.
Okay.
But he had a gallery showing in Dallas. So he's revealing a lot of stuff, hanging it up. You can go and buy his prints for like $5,000. He goes, you know this guy Tyler Shields? I go, I love him. He goes, he has a gallery showing. I go, what? Can we go? He goes, oh, I know him. I can introduce you to.
Oh.
So that's the kind of stuff that happens. And then I go to the gallery showing. I mean, the people in here are just the most gorgeous people in the world. The art is the most, I've never seen anything like this. This is a real gallery, like big event. You know, I've gone to like the New York museums, but I've never done a gallery. And it was just overwhelming because everything was awesome. And, you know, they say, you know, never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
I was so glad to meet him. And you know that I have met a lot of famous people, you know, casually through, you know, little work projects or whatever. But when I meet people that I really admire, I turn into a puddle. And I'm sitting there with my loud voice.
Did you bark at him? Oh, you fucking barked at him. I knew it.
I did. I didn't
Inside
mean to,
of a gallery? Like, it seems like a gallery is like a quiet, maybe there's music playing, but you barked at this guy.
Yeah. So it's my hearing. I think everybody can't hear me just like I can't hear me. So I raise my voice, and then it dawns on me, wait a minute, I think I'm yelling at this guy. So yeah, I think I barked at him. But yeah, just a great trip.
Did he look scared, like the guy from Extreme looked scared when he turned around?
If that happened, I'm blocking it because I want to remember that it was only a positive experience.
Okay,
but
good.
I'm telling you, he was such an awesome guy. Everything about this trip was fantastic. It was a remarkable trip. One to remember. I was only going for a few days, and it's just like, it was great. And I got to watch the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon and like that too.
Oh, the new movie with Seth Rogen?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's got that Spider-Verse vibe. It's not as good as Spider-Verse, but it's fun to see that style again. It's not even that style, but it's so non-traditional animation. Maybe that's what I'm saying. It's fun to see non-traditional animation.
That's cool, man. Well, congrats on a safe and fun trip.
Yeah, thank you. I shouldn't have any more trips until LA in January.
What's happening there? Another NAMM show?
Mm-hmm. Yep, going to go speak at the NAMM show.
Well, a very fitting song you had there at the top of the show with it being called Zombie. That's what we're going to talk about today. Doing part 2, volume 2, I believe, in our Things That Go Bump in the Night series, building our way up to Halloween here. And we're going to talk about some zombies today.
Before we go into this, I just got one quick thing to say. I heard it on the last recording that we put out.
Oh, I knew what you were going to say.
Mm-hmm. Phantom farts.
Farts.
That's right, everybody. You heard me right. Phantom farts. I don't know where they're coming from, Scott. These little sounds that just show up in the recording. And when I go back into the track and I go, what was that? And I look at the wave file and I analyze it. I zoom in. There's nothing there.
Nothing.
But I hear. I hear. Just a little. That's it.
And it happens like 5-6 times a show. And they're not there when I do my initial recording, so it's not coming through our microphones. Nobody got uncontrollable flatulence or bowel issues. It's truly a recording phenomenon.
So, what is it about? Even grown men, we still laugh at farts. No, it has something to do with the compression. I'll figure it out. I'll work it out. Everything is doing all this stuff through the internet. Like nothing is like old school recording. Everything is new and new bugs and everything. We've cried about it before. So if you listen closely and you hear one of those little phantom farts, I want you all to drink.
Is this a new drinking game?
Just go drink. I don't even care if it's iced tea. Just chug it. Just laugh and drink it and go. Phantom farts.
Ah, well.
The too much CGI drinking game.
I feel like organically through the past couple shows, we moved away from our normal format. Either that or we got really goddamn good. Any mailbag, any fuck-upperies, anything like that we used to talk about weekly?
Oh, we get them. I was just taking
just start talking about them.
Yep. Here, you know what? Let's pop on to Facebook right now. I guarantee there'll be one there from Tim Yoke. Let's take a look.
Haven't heard his name in a while.
Here we go. Ha, fuck uppery. First black and white silent vampire movie in 1992. I backed it up twice. I guess he had to go back and double check us. What did you say?
I don't know. I mean, Nosferatu was 1922. I know that. Maybe I'm dyslexic. Maybe you shouldn't point out my medical shortcomings and my learning disabilities.
Well, duh.
But if I said 92, well, fuck me.
Damn it, Tim. You're good.
You got me again. Foiled again.
I think I said at one point, somebody said Brittany Murphy, and I said Britney Spears, and I think that went through. Yeah. We're amateurs, guys. What do you want? You want pros? You can spend $4.99 a month.
Jenna got me on one too. I mentioned go way back to the music compilation show we did. Jenna said I mentioned Now That's What I Call Music came out in 2004. Well, it must have came out in 1994 because Bop came out in like 1994. And being a Hanson fan, she was just like, yeah, you fucked up. I was like, well, so be it.
Well, duh.
What do you guys want? It's a free podcast.
We're mere mortals.
Yeah, we can make you pay for it and promise to do better. That's about all we can do. Thanks for being good sports. Keep sending them in. They make us laugh all the time.
At no point, we're mere mortals here. We make mistakes. We're flawed men.
Some of us.
The other ones are narcissistic and can't own it, but whatever. So as promised, let's talk about some zombies here. Now, last week we talked about vampires.
Zombie. Oh, you didn't mean the band.
No, not the Cranberries. And not the Zombies, the band. No. I'm talking about reanimated corpses that are brought back to life through various ways. Sometimes magic, sometimes fungus, sometimes radiation, sometimes pathogens and parasites, and sometimes scientific accidents. But in all these stories, the dead walk the earth.
What? Something my granddaddy used to tell us. You know Macumbo? Voodoo. Granddad was a priest in Trinidad. He used to tell us, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
The word zombie was first recorded in the English language in 1819 in a book, History of Brazil. It was written by a poet named Robert Southey. The term actually translates from Central African as body without a soul. So I think that really sums it up. It is just a walking body, like I said, once deceased, now walking the earth, but the soul is gone. It just brainlessly, mindlessly walks around and just is there. Early on, it wasn't really like zombies like we know today, where they're running around feasting on the living. They were just reanimated corpses. First brought into Western culture in 1929. 1929er. In a book called The Magic Island, written by W.B. Seabrook. And in this here, it was Haitian voodoo that brought the zombies back to life. So there's a big Haitian Caribbean islands type cultural thing here where zombies come back in. And in doing research about this, and I see Haitian voodoo zombies, what's the first thing I thought of, Bill?
I don't know.
Weekend at Bernie's 2.
Fuck, dude. I'm so glad you just said that. You know how I just said I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles under my belt on the trip? Amy and I watched Weekend at Bernie's. It was on TV.
Part 1?
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm not going to take you off your thing, but holy shit, it was funnier than I remember.
Oh, man. And Weekend at Bernie's Part 1 was not necromancy. It was not a voodoo curse bringing the dead back to life. It was truly just two guys trying to keep a dead corpse looking like it was still alive so they wouldn't get blamed for the murder of Bernie Lomax. Part 2, whenever he hears a steel drum music playing or hears a steel drum playing, he gets up and starts dancing around. It was like a voodoo curse that was put on him. But that's what I think of when I think of Haitian voodoo zombie curses.
Yeah.
In the mid 20th century, this is when a new version of zombies comes about, thanks to our friend George A. Romero in 1968's Night of the Living Dead. This is the first time zombies attack and feast on the living. So this is really where that came into play. That's what Romero added to the existing zombie trope that was out there.
Zombie, bad guy. Hi, zombie.
Now, I love this movie. Let's talk about this for a minute, because right now, it is like when a movie is in or when it's not copyrighted anymore. It's in the
public domain.
Fair use, public domain. I couldn't remember that. So it's out there now, and there's versions of it where people have just like overdubbed it. So I found one of those as a kid. And again, we talked about my friend Paul South, and I grew up with Paul South, and we watched that version, and we were just one of those versions where they overdubbed, and we were laughing our asses off. And then I remember going, there's no way I could actually watch this movie, the real one. But as I was watching this fake version, I was getting more and more interested in the real one. So I remember being a kid, seeking it out, finally getting it, and sitting through it and thinking, holy shit, this is the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life. If you look at it now, you can't enjoy it the way you did when you're like a kid. There's just no way. But the movie is absolutely brilliant. And Amy and I have actually taken a drive to Pittsburgh. It was filmed in Pittsburgh. George Romero is from Pittsburgh. Tom Savini, worked with him closely. You'll talk about him more, I'm sure. They're from Pittsburgh. So we drove around and looked at a bunch of the spots where they filmed the movie. And I've got great shots of Amy like posing in front of some of the same gravestones that were in that first, in that first zombie reveal scene. Yeah. One of my favorite movies.
Fun fact, in that movie, the undead were not called zombies. Like, fans now refer to that as a zombie movie, but they never identified the undead, the walking undead. They were the living dead. They were not called zombies in that movie. They were never identified as that in world.
Yeah. I also really liked that it was all around our area. Like, it just felt close to home.
Yeah.
Especially, and I know you're getting to it, Dawn of the Dead, because a lot of that took place in Harrisburg, and that's only an hour from our homes. Yeah. I'm sorry, let me say the beginning of it took place in Harrisburg.
Yeah, 10 years later, 1978, Dawn of the Dead comes out to follow up the sequel to Night of the Living Dead. And then 85, so you figure another 7 years after that, The Return of the Living Dead comes out. And this is where zombies now not just feast on the living, they attack and eat the brains of the living. So the whole idea of zombies eating brains came about in 1985.
What is the five fingers say to the face? What? Slap!
Here's another interesting thing about that. So I don't truly have this down 100%, so I can't give you the details, just the broad strokes. But the reason that George Romero went a different direction, because he did Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, but the Night of the Living Dead also continued in a different direction. Return of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead Part 2, Part 3. It's because there was a court case. There was a group that wasn't getting along. They're like, you got to split the property. So George Romero took half, and the other guy, whoever he was, I forgot his name, took the other half. So the other guy's now going, well, I'm not really the zombie guy. Like, I'm not George Romero. I think he was the producer. He's like, but I have rights. So they said, well, what do we want to do with ours? Why don't we make, it's the 80s, why don't we make over-the-top zombie comedy, sex movies with full of gore and silliness. So now you got this completely other tone to George Romero, who's still making smart movies. When he filmed Dawn of the Dead, everything about it is a not a satire, but it's a statement against consumerism.
There was always that social message that was mixed in with the overreaching zombie story that was, front and foremost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember telling my son as he was getting older, because I wasn't going to let him watch anything too scary, but as he was getting a little older, I was like, all right, maybe you could watch an Evil Dead and a Dawn of the Dead. And I told him, I said, there's a political message in this movie. And he went, there's no fucking way, Dad. He did not believe me. He still doesn't believe me. He doesn't think it's a work of art in any sense of the word. He just does not believe me.
Nope.
It's there, though. And then, zombies took another turn. So these zombies were always constantly decaying. They're back to life, but they're constantly still decaying. And the longer they survive, the more, their limbs just rot and fall off, the more skeletal they start to become. But then I remember the movie came out 28 days later in the 2000s, where, now zombies are fast as shit. They're not just, lumbering around, sneaking up on people, banging down doors. These things are like fucking track stars, and they're attacking people, and you're out after dark, you're dead.
My zombies only do two things: walk or break dance, not run.
The movie came out with Will Smith. That was also in the 2000s. I Am Legend. They were super strong, super hulked up zombies. And that movie was actually based on a 1954 novel written by Richard Matheson that George A. Romero actually borrowed heavily from when he wrote Night of the Living Dead. So there's some history with I Am Legend that I learned doing this research. I didn't realize it was based on an earlier work of art. Yeah,
that's interesting. There's a bunch of horror guys from Italy. It's me. I'm not the biggest horror guy, but Lucio Fulci is one. I'm not even sure I'm saying the name right. People would stab me for butchering this name. But this is the name you go to for zombies. He had a movie, I think we called Zombie 2, that was trying to be sold in America as a unofficial sequel to George Romero's, one of George Romero's movies. I remember watching them. I remember there was a zombie swimming and fighting a shark in one of them. It was over the top stuff, taken seriously with a lot of Italian, just creepiness. So there's a lot of other zombie movies across the pond from other countries. Zombies got real big in the 80s, didn't they?
Well, I was just going to say, I feel because of there being the Return of the Living Dead and the Romero stuff and then the non-Romero stuff and maybe some of the international stuff, I can't keep straight one movie from the next. You know what I mean? I remember there being a bunch, in my head, there's a bunch of zombie things that happened, but I couldn't tell you what movie they came from. There was one where there was a woman that was a zombie woman that was pregnant, and when she gave birth, the baby was a zombie and came out hungry. I can't remember what the hell movie it was from, but it was scary as shit. They had her chained up, and then there was oh well, the baby might not be infected. And I was yeah, what are the chances of that, asshole? And here comes a big jump scare.
I got bored of them around. I don't even know. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead. Dawn of the Dead got remade by Zack Snyder. It was actually written by James Gunn, I think. I had no interest. By then I was all right, I'm zombied out. Now we're starting to remake these. The thrill is over. It was a childhood thing. I'm moving on. I didn't even watch Walking Dead.
No, I didn't watch The Walking Dead either. The last zombie thing I watched was World War Z with Brad Pitt. Oh, yeah. And that was another one where the zombies were super, and really watching it, looking back on it, I should say, to sum up World War Z, if the COVID virus turned people into zombies and didn't kill them, that would have been World War Z, because it was a worldwide pandemic. It started in China, ironically enough, and it spread across the world. So the whole world, seeing how different cultures, different regions handled the zombie outbreak, it was wild to watch. It was more of a sociological story than it was a zombie story, but man, those zombies were fast, they were organized, and they would just take down straight up strongholds where people were trying to hold out. I remember the one thing in the book that I thought was really smart, because zombies don't have to breathe or anything like that. Survivors would be out on cruise ships thinking they were well, they can't get us out here. Well, the zombies just walked underwater and climbed up the fucking anchor chains and attacked them. And like once one zombie got on the boat, like the entire thing was done for. Yeah, that was more like a pathogen type, because if a zombie bites you, you become a zombie. And it was always that trope in the zombie movies where it's like, oh, I think this person's infected. Like, we should shoot him right now. But he's my best friend. And then it's just like, well, you fucked up. You should have shot him. Now you're dead too.
Yeah. You said a lot.
Yeah, but you'd mentioned The Walking Dead. Like, I never watched The Walking Dead. And it's probably the most recent, most popular thing that's been out there. It's been on for, I think it spawned 2 spinoffs. And it's been on for so many seasons. I think the original is now finally wrapped, but now they have like Fear the Walking Dead or there's another one I forget. But yeah, I never watched a single episode.
I think I moved away from the TV version. I went to video games. Like, I loved playing Call of Duty. The zombies, if you don't know, Call of Duty is a shooter game, but they would have little sections of the game that would be like, hey, what would it be like to go after hordes of zombies? And they'd come after you. And it was like, okay, all right. And then I played another game called Dead Rising and Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 3. And I'm running over thousands by thousands of zombies and weird machines, chopping them up.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what else is there? Like, there's just not much else there.
Dead Rising was very much like the mall scene in Living Dead, where it wasn't Living Dead Part 2?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead, where you're like you start off in a shopping mall, and you just go from store to store, and you like take a baseball bat from this store, and you take like a can of gasoline from this store, and you combine them into a weapon, and you just like you can combine all these different things you'd find in the mall. It was really like a survival game of, man, if I was trapped in a mall and the zombie apocalypse happened, what am I going to put together to just start slaughtering the shit out of people and get to a safe house?
Actually, Amy and I, when I talked about going to Pittsburgh, we went to that mall. We went to the Monroeville Mall, and we looked around because Dawn of the Dead was one of my favorite childhood movies. That with like Freddy Krueger and the Jason movies. So I was like recognizing stuff.
Other big video games, Resident Evil. I mean, it started off as a video game, but then it became a movie series. In that one there was like the big evil Umbrella Corporation. So that was one of those where you mentioned the other show with Brother Dan where, the trope of big evil company does something bad. And like that definitely fell into that trope. But then, like I said, the Resident Evil spawned into the different movies. I like the video games more than the movies myself.
Resident Evil, the first version, the really lo-fi version, the PlayStation 1 version, was scary as hell.
Yeah.
Were you scared of that game? Like, I was spooked by that game. That was a great experience.
Yeah, first one I really started playing was Resident Evil 2. I remember I started off like in the Raccoon City Police Department. Maybe that was part 1. I can't recall. The thing that I remember the most about it, though, is you're walking around and like, yeah, you can find a gun, and zombies can be, if shot in the brain, you have to kill the brain to kill the zombie. You can shoot them, but you only find like 6 bullets, and it takes like 4 bullets to kill one zombie.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way to like traverse like a courtyard full of like 12 of them. And it's like, oh, well, fuck, what do I do now?
It's almost like games today, they have so much technology to make games so just everything can be available to you. But back then, I feel like they only had so much data, so they made the games harder because they didn't have enough data to give you 1 billion bullets. And you would play these games like Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, and they would scare you just because you were like, I can't figure out how to do this. I feel really trapped. And you would lose and have to start all over. Like there was stakes in some of these games. So that added to it, Resident Evil.
The other thing about that was like they introduced harder and harder enemies as like, so once you figured out how to traverse and get around and fool the zombies, then you like walk into the interrogation room where there's like the double-sided mirror or the two-way mirror, and next thing you know, like this fucking liquor comes busting through. Like when that happened, dude, I almost shit my pants. Like that was like one of the scariest things that happened, like that I've ever experienced while playing a video game. And that thing came busting through. I was like, well, how do I kill this thing now? Like it like hangs from the ceiling and like has like a tongue like a whip, and it's like a different kind of zombie that was created by the T virus by the Umbrella Corporation, and it's just like you're in this town where shit hit the fan, and what do you do?
People love the movies. I didn't get it. It didn't feel like the game, so I tuned out. As much as I think Mila Jovovich is actually very cool and I like her stuff, I just didn't care about this one.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think there was another video game we played with zombies too, Left 4 Dead.
I played it a little. I didn't have many friends to play it with. That's one of them games. It's like you need all your friends to get through that.
You do. It's left the number 4 dead, and there was 4 characters you could play. Each one was like basically a trope of each other. It had like that personality, and you were basically trying to board up a room. And it had some elements like what the Call of Duty zombies had. The cool thing about the Call of Duty zombies, because those games were based in World War II, it was like there was all these rumors out there that Hitler and the Nazis were trying to work on like supernatural and like the macabre, and they found a way to, through scientific experiment, bring back zombies. And now there's all these like undead Nazi soldiers trying to like come at you, and you had to like survive and like reboard up windows because they'd come and rip the windows or rip the boards off the windows, and you could like shoot them through like the gaps in the windows. Left 4 Dead was kind of like that too, only there was no World War II. It was like present day, like in a high-rise type setting.
Did you play Last of Us? I don't know anything about the game. A little
bit. I played a little bit of it, but not enough to talk too much about it. But that was one, and the HBO show that it spawned, in that one there, the zombies were created by mushrooms, by fungus.
Yeah, it's the first I've ever seen that. That was interesting. In the 80s, it was always nuclear waste. It had to be nuclear waste. Or some gas in the air.
That was like the social message, right? It was like, don't pollute. It was like, don't destroy the earth, or this is what's going to happen. Or they go the route of The Walking Dead, where they just never tell you how the zombies came about. It's just like, yeah, they're here. Who cares how? We have to deal with it. Let's focus on that.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, but then this was a pretty funny one. House of the Dead. That was a video game where you'd go to the arcade and like grab like the submachine gun and just like shoot at the screen. That was one that I think you and I played quite a bit at your one bachelor party. I know my wife and I played it quite a bit at the arcade across town here that has a bar. That was a crazy game.
That's a coin eater. Because you're just like, oh, I got to see what happens next. Fine, give it $10 more in coins.
We just killed a giant zombie sloth. Now what are we going to do?
It would piss me off because every time we go back for some occasion, they had a sequel. House of the Dead 2. And it was like, oh, come on. Now we got to do this.
Yeah.
When the Dreamcast came out, that was the game I got it for because I loved House of the Dead.
That was the only platform I think they even brought it to a home version on. I bought a Dreamcast just for that too. Way back on September 9th, 1999.
What a memory. Have you watched the Uwe Boll movie that we talked about?
That's right. That's right. Uwe Boll.
Uwe.
And speaking of other shitty movies, remember Plan 9 from Outer Space? I think 1954's Plan 9. They had a zombie in there as well.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah. It was classic Ed Wood. It was just bad, but there was a zombie in there. And also a vampire queen, I think, or a female vampire. Weirdness.
That was Vampira, wasn't it?
That's right.
Vampira.
But moving on to music here, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Thriller when talking about zombies. I mean, that was maybe one of the very first times that like zombies were like important to me.
When that Thriller came out, I remember it. I remember it so well. It was a Sunday. It was an MTV premiere. We were supposed to go to a roller skating rink. I didn't want to go. I wanted to watch this because there was so much hype about it. And I didn't see American Werewolf in London. I had no idea who the director was.
Yeah.
So John Landis did that Thriller video. But I just remember I was on the edge of my damn seat. It was such a good video. It was an incredible video.
It was. It was what, like 20 minutes?
I remember it so damn vividly, like the whole beginning, how Michael was watching, and then all of a sudden they're like that old trope of, oh, you were just watching somebody else, and she got scared, and he chased her, and then, oh, Vincent Price made an appearance. I mean, it was like the perfect music video for a kid who loved monster movies. It was so good. But thinking about it, like now in hindsight, he had that Beat It record, he was a pop guy.
Sure.
Where did this horror thing, suddenly he's got to do Thriller. He does a horror album where there's only one scary song. It kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I think that was part of the uniqueness of it, right? One of my favorite parts of Thriller, and it's kind of just thrown in the background, when they're in the movie theater and the girl that he's with, the date, wants to leave the theater and she's like covering her face and she's hiding on the screen. Like, they're not showing the screen at this point, so it's off screen to us, but on the movie screen in the thing, they're like, there's something written there in the blood. What does it say? See you next Tuesday. They did a see you next Tuesday in
What have we got
Thriller.
here? A fucking comedian.
Are you kidding?
I swear to God, see you next Tuesday. And then somebody, and it's like, bah! Then they scream, and then they leave the theater. But right before they leave the theater, there is a see you next Tuesday in there.
It's amazing.
So you mentioned American Werewolf in London, and of course, based on the title, everybody remembers the werewolf from The Werewolf in London, the John Landis movie. Came out in 1981, but remember his friend in there that got killed? And he just like kept on decaying and getting like more and more zombie-like as the movie went on.
Griffin Dunn, right? Yeah.
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 That was like one of my favorite parts of the movie because it was just kind of like funny how he was like there in the background, like he was like just turning into a werewolf, and he looks in the bathroom mirror, like behind him's like his dead friend, and he's like, oh, and like at first he looks like he's just like has like a bashed up head, like a slit throat, but then like more and more it goes, he becomes like more and more decomposed and just like gray.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's really gross, but it's still kind of in a funny way. I thought it was humorous as a kid.
Dark comedy
For sure. Speaking of dark comedies, I guess we got to talk about Ash versus the Evil Dead. That involves zombies.
Kinda. I mean, they're a weird. Yeah, Deadites are. I mean, they're more like spirits that can take over dead people. So it's not really like traditional zombies, but anytime somebody's taken over by a Deadite, they're generally pretty in control, pretty obnoxious, pretty
that's a good
dangerous.
point.
So yeah, but I think they fall into the zombie definition, I guess.
Well, I don't know. By definition, I mean a zombie is a body without a soul. So if there is a soul entering that dead body, it's no longer a zombie.
They want to steal your soul. Steal your soul.
Yeah, that's right. So I don't know, man. Maybe that is a weird one. But yeah, there's been so many zombies, so many different ways they've been put into stories, even right up to present day with, as you mentioned, The Last of Us. They've just always kind of been there.
When you're a kid and you see something that just scares the shit out of you, and you never forget it.
Oh, sure.
Mine wasn't zombies, but my son, his was, and it was in a Hulk cartoon. There was World War Hulk, I think, cartoon, and something happened, and then all of a sudden everybody turned into some kind of zombie monster. That just spooked him. And it's like, wow, we're really like putting zombies like in almost anything. And I should have been more aware. I thought Hulk would have been fine, but yeah, I don't know. We seem to have no problem with zombies. They're everywhere now.
There was that whole Marvel Zombies that came out then, even in the What If that just came out on Disney Plus last year. Marvel Zombies turned Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man. They all got turned into zombies.
I'm no prude, but I always thought it was kind of interesting that zombies got as big as they did, because like kids would dress up as zombies, like decaying flesh of a dead person. And, like, when you pull the lens back, you go, "This is goddamn depraved." What the? No, kid, you can't wear that. Go dress up as a fucking pirate. But nah, zombies are everywhere. The greatest video game, we haven't even talked about it. Plants vs. Zombies.
My son, when I told him I was doing a show about zombies, he was like, "Are you going to talk about Plants vs. Zombies?" And I was like, I don't know how I'll work it in, but here we are.
That was a good one, right?
I loved it. So addictive. I remember I was almost late to my wedding because I was playing Plants vs. Zombies.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I beat it. I was at the house getting ready. I remember my brother came over. He was like, "Why the fuck aren't you showered yet? What are you doing? We have to be there in 20 minutes." And I was like, "I'm about to beat this. Like, one more level."
I like the guy.
Crazy Dave. Selling shit out of the back of his station wagon with a bucket on his head.
I don't play any phone games now. I know you do, but like there was a day when there was a lot of good phone games.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap this up, where do you think the idea of zombies or The Walking Dead would have come from, like in human history? Like where clearly this came from something. It didn't just come out of nowhere, but where do you think it originated?
Well, according to Scott, about 40 minutes ago, it came from Haiti.
Duh.
Well, yeah, I know, but like, do you think they truly believed like there were like necromancers that were going to do like witch spells and bring people back to life? So I think, and there's documented proof of this, back in the day, clearly medical science wasn't what it is today. And I believe there is documented history of people being buried alive. Like, there are grave sites that used to have like bells on headstones where if you were buried alive and you like came to, you could ring the bell and they could dig you back up. So I think maybe like during the plague and stuff, I think back to fucking Monty Python and the Holy Grail where, you know, they're going around from the plague and they're like, bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. They throw the guy on the pile and he's like, well, I'm not dead yet. They're like, oh, you'll be dead by morning. And like, just like shit like that. Like, I feel like they probably did bury people alive. And then when they come to and they come out of a shallow grave, because even burial practices weren't then what they are today, I feel like there may have been like people that were like, I thought you were dead. Now you're out walking around. Like, it's probably where there's some of this origin coming from.
How far back do bath salts go? I've seen some zombies after doing some bath salts.
Oh, you're talking about the drug bath salts. I thought you meant like Epsom salts that you were using after your sack race.
No, but yeah, I wondered the same thing. Like, did somebody see somebody who was just so drugged out on something one day and they're like, that guy's had too much of the wildflower and now he's just a fucking zombie, too much of the LSD mushroom, and now he's just a zombie. It must be a thing. Like, yeah, I wonder that too. I wonder if it's, you know, what if it was mental health and people were just like, that guy's crazy. He must be the Walking Dead. He must be dead coming back to life or something. Who knows where it came from? There's probably an actual answer. We just didn't look it up. But let's keep it a mystery.
No, I did some looking, and what I expected to find, like, I didn't find anything like this, like, on Wikipedia or through any internet searches. Like, I expected to see, like, you know, probable origins came from this, and, like, I really didn't find any answers I was looking for.
Oh, wow. Well, then we'll make them up.
I mean, that would be my guess, is that somebody saw somebody that they thought was like, wait, I thought we buried you. And maybe you did. Alive.
Well, man, I got to tell you, I'm so glad you did zombies. We can do zombies again next time and the time after, because I love zombies. They're my favorite, and they shouldn't be, but I don't know. I always liked them because of my affinity to them as a kid. Was Frankenstein a zombie?
It's a great question. I mean, if it is truly reanimated corpse, like Frankenstein's, 12 reanimated corpses? Is he a zombie? I don't know. I always considered him to be like a monster or an abomination. What
about Jason Voorhees after he came back from part 6 and he was the dead version? Is he a zombie?
Right. I would think so.
Guess he's a zombie. Yeah.
He almost had too much of like a goal to like kill people. You know what I mean? Like he had like targets he was hunting out. Like he had an agenda. I don't think zombies have an agenda aside from like lumbering about or running about in certain cases and then like eating people that they come across. They're not hunting people down. They don't have a vendetta that they have to get across, you know?
Very astute. I got to tell you something. So I'm friendly with Tommy McLaughlin, who directed the movie, who made the decision to bring him back, and everybody calls him Zombie Jason. Because every other Jason movie, except for the 5th one that wasn't real, oh, no spoilers, that movie's old enough. That wasn't even the real Jason, it was a copycat. But every other Jason was the same guy, he just hadn't fully died yet. So in part 6, Tommy said, I want to, make this movie. How do I bring this guy who's like been dead for a while back? And he got the idea to make it like Frankenstein.
Okay.
Just like you said, like Jason has an agenda. So Tommy wasn't saying, let's make Jason a zombie, as all of us call him Zombie Jason. He was saying, let's do a Frankenstein thing.
Oh, there we go.
Fun little fact.
I like that.
And I like that you like zombies.
So I guess that brings us back around to Frankenstein. Did Frankenstein's monster have an agenda? He was just trying to make friends and live. There was a thinking brain in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So would that be a real zombie? I don't know.
I would say not.
Here's a thing I remember learning about Frankenstein in film school at Penn State. So back in the day, remember the comedy and drama masks?
Yes.
That is all there used to be. There used to be comedies and drama. So what do you think Frankenstein was, a comedy or a drama?
I mean, I would instinctually say drama.
So it was a comedy, because when you saw Frankenstein and went, whoa, you would follow that with, ha, 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 ha. True story. That's what I was taught.
I felt like the moral of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was that the monster was not the monster. The way the townspeople treated him, we were the monsters.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the message. So that seems like a dramatic storyline.
Right. I feel like that was like the blow your mind moment. Like
the big twist.
The Walking Dead aren't really the zombies. The Walking Dead are us because it's only a matter of time.
Well, you're bringing everybody down.
No. I meant like in that world, you're being hunted constantly. I don't mean we're all each
You're
day
not doing
we die
anything.
a little more. No, I'm not saying that.
We begin to die as soon as we're born. Oh, man, we're trying to make you guys laugh. We're not trying to bring you down. We're trying to tickle you emotionally. Well, what do you say we move on to the news?
Yeah, please do.
Well, Scott, I guess you heard.
The strike is over. Strike up the band.
Here we go, baby. Now let the good times roll, baby. Woo! Bring on the content. Bring it on.
Bring on the content.
All right, so I got 2 articles I want to read to you. Of course, if you don't know, I like to summarize my stuff with that AI thing. And I'm going to read this one. WGA and AMPTP deals impact on film. Uptick in feature writer job market, but actors scheduling conflicts down the road. So check this out. The new tentative deal between the Writers Guild of America and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers is causing excitement, particularly for the TV industry where writers are set to return to work. The writers are also excited that Bill of Too Much CGI is once again locked out of his dream of writing for a major motion picture. That walled garden is back up. However, the impact on the film industry is less immediate. One concern is actor scheduling conflicts, which may prioritize TV series over films. The strike by SAG-AFTRA further complicates matters. A resolution would enable most feature productions to eye a 2024 start or restart date. The 2024 theatrical release schedule remains uncertain due to the ongoing strike. Films like Deadpool 3 and Mission Impossible 8 may not meet their release dates. On the positive side, the deal allows for screenplay polishing and completing unfinished projects. Studios can start offering open writing assignments. The spec market may experience a slow uptick initially, expected to rise once after the SAG-AFTRA strike ends. So it's kind of like getting the engine started type of thing. Financial details of the new deal are not yet public, but a prior proposal has suggested increased compensation and residuals for feature writers. The WGA is set to vote on the approval of this new deal shortly. Now, I thought that was good information, but I found another article that filled in even more. So let me read the summary of this one. Okay. The Writers Guild has entered one of its longest strikes in history after winning significant concessions from major studios and streaming services. The details of the agreement are not disclosed, but it is considered exceptional and still needs to be ratified. The strike was seen by some as a response to the changes in the industry brought about by the streaming services, sometimes called the Netflix strike. I guess I never heard this thing called the Netflix strike, but I don't know what they're talking about. No, me neither. However, this doesn't solve underlying challenges in the entertainment industry, such as the impact of streaming and changes in revenue streams. With streaming gains slowing and traditional TV and theatrical revenues dropping, the industry is at a crossroads. Even as the WGA and actors have won better compensation and working conditions, there could be fewer opportunities as the industry undergoes belt-tightening. The strike and its aftermath have various implications for different stakeholders. Traditional TV networks and streaming services could see changes in their programming and financial models. Consumers are likely to face higher costs for content and possibly fewer options. Overall, while the strike may have been a short-term win for the WGA, it highlights larger issues in the entertainment industry that remain unresolved. So, kind of a win, but kind of like a, hey, slow down. This is still a big mess, and we still have a lot of ways to go.
So this might be a stupid question. I know this talks about the WGA and the AMPTP and how they've come to strike resolution. Was the SAG strike just a sympathy strike, or is SAG still on strike as well?
I'm not following you on that one.
So like the Writers Guild, the writers were on strike, but then the Screen Actors Guild also went on strike 2 months after the fact.
Oh, yeah. No, they're still on strike. This is only for the writers'
side. They're still on
side.
strike. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So this is only part of the problem solved.
Right. This article's kind of saying, and that's not even as big a, the problem solved as you might think.
Right.
Well, the one thing it said, which is probably going to happen, we're going to start seeing rising costs. Not that we're not already seeing them. Hey, look at my second news item. Amazon Prime Video will have commercials. Amazon has announced that it will introduce limited advertisements to its Prime Video service starting in early 2024. The ads will be initially rolled out in the US, UK, Germany, and Canada, with other countries to follow later in the year. Amazon states that this move aims to allow the company to continue investing in high-quality content. The current pricing of Prime memberships will remain unchanged, but a new ad-free option will be available for an additional $2.99 per month in the US, with pricing from other countries to be announced later. Live sports on Prime Video will continue to have ads. This decision comes as some competing streaming services like Disney Plus and Hulu are raising their subscription prices. So, yeah, kind of just as the other article said would happen.
I mean, I don't know. I don't watch enough Prime Video. Not that this isn't happening across the board. This article here talks specifically about Prime, but the only thing I'm watching on Prime weekly is Thursday Night Football.
I watch a lot of Prime. Now that I think about it, I think Prime and YouTube are my big ones.
That Jury Duty show you talked about, that was airing on Prime as well. I have to check that out yet.
Yeah, you know, but I watched it on that Freevee because that's where I saw it was advertised. And then I think I found that Freevee is owned by Amazon, so I don't know what the hell's going on. Did you know the movie Krull?
Yeah, he was a conqueror, right?
No.
Krull the Conqueror?
No, that may be a thing. That sounds kind of familiar too. Krull was a movie in the 80s. It was this guy, this curly-haired guy who had this like Chinese star type thing, but it wasn't, this was like a Beastmaster era type space fantasy thing. Do you remember that? And he would throw it. I even think we talked about the Cyclops. And we talked about
how did he catch it without cutting his arm off?
Yes, I knew we did. All right, then I'm glad I copied this story. J.J. Abrams is reportedly attached to direct a reboot of the 1983 sci-fi fantasy movie Krull for Warner Brothers. The original film, which was initially considered a box office bomb, later gained a cult following. Okay, I gotta stop. Did this really gain a cult following?
I don't think so.
And is this something we want to see now? Like, why do we do this to ourselves?
I don't know.
There's no way this is going to be good.
We'd almost be remiss. I mean, along these same lines, another movie that debuted in Dallas while you were down there, The Toxic Avenger with Peter Dinklage. That was a movie premiere on Friday, I think, right? So talk about movie remakes that we didn't want. And that movie had a cult following, unlike Krull. Like, people love The Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
That premiere, I don't even know if I told you, that premiere was in Dallas. I actually could have gone with Paul. The actors, I don't even know if they were in town because if the strike ended on Friday, would they have shown up?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone for Toxie, but I would have went for Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, he seems like a cool dude.
Yeah.
I would love to meet him. Scott, I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Do you like Coca-Cola?
I'm more for Pepsi guy.
Then Clint Eastwood likes you. Did you know about Clint Eastwood's war with Coke?
No.
Did you know the Karate Kid is to blame?
For Clint Eastwood not liking Coca-Cola?
It sounds like I'm speaking gibberish, but I'm not.
Tie this together for me.
So this article that I found from Collider discusses a peculiar ban that Clint Eastwood, right? We know Clint Eastwood, a prolific filmmaker, great actor, amazing guy. He has this rule imposed on his sets. No Coca-Cola products. None.
Like his writer specifically says, like, no Coca-Cola.
Absolutely
anything.
Nothing.
And this ties back to the Karate Kid. How?
Okay. This unusual rule traces back to when Eastwood's son Kyle was rejected for the lead role in the movie The Karate Kid. At the time, the film was produced by Columbia Pictures, which was owned by the Coca-Cola Company. Feeling slighted by the studio's decision not to cast his son, Eastwood enacted the Coca-Cola ban, which has been in place for over 3 decades.
This guy can hold a fucking grudge, can he?
He's the best. Despite Coca-Cola and Columbia Pictures no longer being connected, the ban remains.
Wow.
Man. While Clint Eastwood might hold a grudge, his son Kyle doesn't. He doesn't regret the turn of events. He's become a very successful jazz musician. But still, Clint won't let it go.
What's he doing to Ralph Macchio? Selling them like fucking envelopes full of anthrax? Or like, how does he retaliate?
I bet you like anytime there's like in the 80s when there was any kind of event and Ralph was there and Clint was there, you know Ralph was hiding.
Man, could you imagine? That is really taking it to like, he really went out of his way to blame Coca-Cola. Like that's, what the fuck?
I think he's being a little tongue-in-cheek. I don't know.
I love it. I love the insanity of that. That's just like a angry old bitter man.
Get off my lawn.
I got 2 more for you. You're going to like these. And they're both about Batman. How Batman the Animated Series censorship actually helped the show. So this is a cool article I read from Screen Rant. Screen Rant discusses how the heavy censorship faced by Batman the Animated Series during its early 90s run actually helped the show. The censorship forced the writers and artists to think creatively to overcome the restrictions imposed on them. This led to more threatening villains and darker storylines as they had to find alternative ways to depict violence and murder without showing them directly. Despite these limitations, the series remains one of the most accurate and well-written adaptations of Batman. Mark Hamill, who voiced the Joker, I wish he would still voice the Joker. I wish he would never stop voicing the Joker, pointed out that while handguns were banned, submachine guns were allowed. This unintentionally made villains like the Joker more menacing. The writers and artists such as Paul Dini and Bruce Timm worked around these limitations and made the villains and storylines even darker and more compelling. For example, instead of showing the Joker directly killing his victims, they used Joker venom, making his actions more terrifying. The series became a hit, expanding into the beloved DC animated universe and surpassed more live-action adaptations in terms of its faithfulness to the comics.
Yeah, we've said on here before, that is the best Batman that ever was.
That's who I wish they made into a movie.
Yeah.
They never did that Batman. They always did something to give him more color. That Batman that we see is very black and white. Why do we like him the best? But we like him the best.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about him. Maybe it was because it was truer to the comics. Maybe it was because they were forced to be more creative with it. It wasn't just like villains pull guns. You know, I like the fact that it had like that 1950s Art Deco feel, and they kind of worked that in with, you know, these bad guys use Tommy guns. And here it's because censorship wouldn't let them show handguns.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
That's it. All right, let me give you one more. This one comes from Tim Burton. Did you hear this?
I have heard this. He's angry.
Right. He's silent revolt. Tim Burton has accused Warner Brothers of cultural appropriation in their depiction of Michael Keaton's Batman in the new Flash movie.
Yeah.
Burton, who directed the earlier Batman films featuring Keaton, expressed his concerns about how the studio handles characters he considers his own. He appears to be expressing concern that the studio is taking creative liberties with characters that he considers his own, potentially altering their cultural and artistic significance in a way that he finds objectionable. His comments suggest that he believes the studio is not respecting the original artistic intent and cultural context of these characters, which he views as a form of cultural appropriation. Burton stated that he's in quiet revolt against these practices in his later years. He had previously voiced his criticism of the direction Warner took with Batman Forever. So yeah. I did hear he made some statements about that because, you know, he wasn't part of it. It kind of went away from him there. But, you know, he felt like you were taking my Batman and you're going to, you know, do something with my Batman. That's not cool. And now he's saying it's happening again.
Well, this actually went further. He wasn't just angry about Michael Keaton's Batman. He was actually also angry about the Nicolas Cage Superman showing up because that was really taken from him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I talked about it, last episode or the episode before, how I thought it was
probably like
funny.
3 ago.
Yeah. Oh, he's shooting the spider. Do you know why he shot the spider? Well, you know, that was all, you're right. That was all kind of like the version of Superman being made by this artist.
Yeah.
And he doesn't own it. So he lost control of it, and you got this Batman in the new Flash movie.
And clearly he had no say. He had no say into whether or not it was going to be used.
Yeah, what I read is he thinks he still has ownership of it. So, you know, he's got some kind of ownership. I don't know. Contractual? Don't know. Emotional? Probably.
Was he paid to make that by the studio? Wouldn't that then make it intellectual property?
That's what I believe.
It's a weird world, man.
So, who knows? Maybe there's a detail none of us know.
That's what happens when you take creative types and you mix them together with business types, and who knows how the world works.
All right, everybody. Well, that's enough jabbering. So how about we call it an episode, and let me pass it to Scott for any final thoughts? You have any thoughts? There's got to be something on your mind.
Oh, no, really there's not. I mean, just thanks everyone for listening in. Numbers are still growing, still appreciating that. Again, I say it every show, but share it with a friend. Tell somebody about it. Yeah, that's all I can say, man. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Move out of the way!
Wait, no!